Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Queenly Vibes here, back with another movie review. By the way, my name is Runtrell, and I hope that everyone has had a blessed week thus far. Let me make sure that my lighting is good. So, anyhow, yes, I am back with a movie review, Lifetime movie. I just saw it tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It reminded me of Hand That Rocks the Cradle, one of my favorites. It's a classic, so it kind of gave me the vibe of that. The name of this movie is called Revenge Delivered. Okay, so before I get into that, like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share the video. Okay, leave a decent comment, to interact with me. Okay, so, and thank you to all of my subscribers thus far. I wish I could see each and every one of you, but unfortunately, a lot of you like to go private for whatever reason. As long as, as long as you keep it cute, it's fine with me, Anyways, thank you thus far. So before I jump into it, I also just like to talk a little bit about my day. Today is Sunday, so I went out to service today and had an awesome time. The message was talking about count it all joy, coming from the book of James. Count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. Basically, it's just talking about, when you have God in your life and you depend on, Him in every situation that you go through, whatever trial, whatever the issues are, you can put your trust in Him and He will give you that joy that you need. Amen. So I pray for all of you to be blessed and well and depend on the Lord, right? Anyhow, so let's jump into the movie review. And another thing that I like, that I'm loving the direction of these Lifetime movies, is that I'm seeing a lot of melanated people. So shouts out to that. I'm loving that. And, interracial couples and things like that. A lot of, black and brown people, Caucasian people, all mixing up together. And I do enjoy that. One love. If you're a part of the hate, that's your ignorance. You need the Lord and repent now. Okay? Because He created us all. Anyhow, let's walk in love. So, the doctor in this movie, she portrayed an obstetrician. The character's name is Dr. Victoria Brooks. Her real name, and I pray that I pronounce it properly, forgive me if I don't, Alaniki Adalil, I believe. Beautiful name. Sounds African or what have you. And by the way, she was gorgeous. And my thing is that I love when women of color wear their natural hair. I love all different hairstyles and, all of that. But I love when women of color wear their natural hair. And she just had like this beautiful natural hair, little short locks and everything. She was stunning, all of that. So love that about her. Anyhow, just a little bit about the plot of the movie. And this is a spoiler, by the way. I'm not going to get into everything, but it is a spoiler. Dr. Victoria Brooks is an extremely well-regarded obstetrician who is happily married and has a beautiful home. However, she has her share of troubles. One is her daughter, Noelle, who tried to commit suicide a year ago, and who her mother fears lives in her shadow. Not that her mother makes much of an effort to help Noelle feel better about herself, from what we can see, Noelle, who is also a doctor in training, then joins her mother to train under her in the maternity ward. She is joined by two other young residents, Claire and Luna. So, let's jump into it. Now, like I said, this movie, from when it first came on, it just gave me the Hand That Rocks the Cradle vibes. Freaking love that movie. It's a classic. The only difference, well, it's similar, but the difference with this movie is per the mother's request, because when the movie came on, Dr. Brooks was delivering a baby, and the mother was having some complications with the baby. Dr. Brooks said that the baby's shoulders were too wide if she tried to deliver natural, so they needed to do a cesarean. Okay, so the mother, told her that if anything goes wrong, please save my baby, what happened. So Dr. Brooks agreed, and of course, with her being a doctor, her goal was to, save the baby and the mother, Anyhow, and that haunted her for many years, because she wasn't able to save the mother, she was able to save the baby. And she actually had PTSD behind it, which I honestly thought that she needed, maybe to take some time off and get some type of therapy behind it. I don't think she should have just continued to work as, nothing happened, because it really did haunt her, and she blamed herself, and she had a lot of issues behind it. Anyhow, it reminded me, like I said, of Hand That Rocks the Cradle, because in the reverse, however, because with that movie, Rebecca De Mornay, I believe that's her, how do you pronounce her name, her last name. Her character carried a baby full term, and she ended up losing the baby, so her baby died, and she was completely psycho after that, and she blamed the character, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name. She's an awesome actress. I loved her like in the 90s and all of that. She was in a lot of movies. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. It'll come to me later, but anyhow, she had revenge out on her husband was a doctor, and the lady that she blamed was one of his patients, because her husband was a sicko, because he was, he molested the patient. Her name was Claire in the movie, but I cannot think of her real name. Anyhow, and it's so funny because in this movie, Revenge Delivered, the psychopath, her name was Claire. So I thought that was a little funny. So Rebecca De Mornay, she had revenge out on Claire, and of course we know how, if any of you have seen that movie, we know how that went. Let's jump back to this movie. So, long story short, because I'm not going to give every detail, the baby was saved. It was a daughter, and her name is Claire. She ended up being one of the residents at the hospital where Dr. Brooks worked, because of course her MO is to get revenge on her for, she thinks that Dr. Brooks didn't save her mother, like she murdered her mother or what have you, which is obviously, far from the truth. So anyhow, she's a nutcase anyhow because of other reasons that I'll get into in a minute. But she's a total nutcase, which I love. You know what I mean? I hate it when it's a real life story. Like some of the other movie reviews that I've had, that's been real life stories. That's sick and twisted. But when it's just a fun Lifetime movie, I'm thoroughly enjoying it because you got to have a villain. You know what I mean? Everyone can't just be all nice and sweet or what have you. She was the nutcase that we needed. She gave this movie the fire that we needed, and oh my God, did she bring it? So anyhow, so what she did, of course, she became besties with Dr. Brooks' daughter, Noelle, because again, she found that loophole because Noelle is also, a resident and everything under her mother. So it's just so funny how, excuse me, allergies are acting out. It's just so funny how Dr. Brooks was concerned that she didn't want Noelle to, follow, I don't think she minded that Noelle followed in her footsteps, but it was just like she didn't want her to feel like she had to live in her shadow. You know what I mean? And anyhow, as the movie went on, Dr. Brooks was definitely very hard on Noelle. She critiqued everything that she did. Claire was the resident that took leadership and everything, and she was on it, and she wanted Noelle to be that way, And the other student, Luna, was pretty good as well. And Noelle was, kind of just falling kind of behind. She wasn't bad, but, she was just a little bit more standoffish and, just learning her way. But, of course, her mother is the head doctor here, so she wanted her to, to do things the way that she would do them. Anyhow, so the movie goes on, and like I said, Claire befriends Noelle, so she gets into the home. She, you know how these Lifetime movies go. She gets into the home. She looks around at everything. She looks at how they're living. Dr. Brooks, her husband, is and her husband has been in other Lifetime movies that I've seen before, and he's a really good actor as well. He's I'm not seeing his name, but handsome guy. And I like the fact that her husband was Caucasian, so a little bit of the interracial, marriage or what have you, where it's not just I get bored when it's always an African American man with a Caucasian woman. I mean, it's fine, but I like to see a little bit of mix up. You know what I mean? Anyhow, that's just me. So, hang on. My thing is that I like when men enjoy, that will date all women, not just a specific race. So anyhow, I'm not going to get into that, not on this video. So so the movie goes on, and of course Claire, she starts getting a little vicious with Noelle and everything. The residents go out for lunch. The girls are chummy, all this sort of stuff. And Claire puts something in Noelle's drink and all of that to make her incompetent as she's performing and everything. And the thing about it is because Noelle tried to commit suicide before, so she wants to make her look incompetent, like, She doesn't really know what she's doing with her life and stuff like that, or what have you, because she wants to gain brownie points with Dr. Brooks so that she can just get closer to her to find out, how she can torture her. Basically, that's what the enemies always do, which is so funny. So, of course, Dr. Brooks was, her parents were really concerned and upset about the situation, what have you. Noelle tries to convince her that, she's not doing any, type of drugs. She's serious about her career. She knows what she wants, yada, yada, yada. Forward winding. A lot of mishaps started taking place, strange events. The other resident, Luna, now mind you, as the whole movie is going on, Dr. Brooks, like I said, she has PTSD about, the patient that she couldn't save. And the residents came over to their home for dinner. The other resident, Luna, Claire spilled, some wine on her drink because she hated Luna. Luna was a really good student. She was, very professional or what have you. And Claire hated that, whatever. She wanted to be the star. So Dr. Brooks take her in the room to give her a different, to give her a blouse. And she recognized like this tattoo on her. And that tattoo was the same tattoo of the patient that passed or what have you that she had, which I thought it was a little strange too. And I actually thought that Luna might have been like a nutcake too, and I thought that maybe her and Claire were linked together to, to sabotage Dr. Brooks, because that's how, it was looking that way. Let's just put it that way. And so Dr. Brooks saw that, and she was just like, she told her husband about it, and she was just like, something's not right, what have you. So her mindset was now focused on Luna as the person that's making all of these mistakes or, incompetent, doing things, what have you. Dr. Brooks ended up with, another patient who was due to deliver. And like deja vu, this patient tells her, if anything happens, save my baby, So, of course, Dr. Brooks, she had flashbacks and everything about, the patient that she couldn't save. So, in the meantime now, somebody is definitely trying to scare Dr. Brooks. She had a break-in with her car. Different things was, taking place. Okay, so what happened? Claire's father, they kept showing Claire's father, which, he's the husband of the patient that she couldn't save. Claire is the daughter. Okay, so they kept showing him like in the hospital, around the babies and different things like that. It was really weird. Come to find out, I'm just going to forward one. How that came out, that Dr. Brooks found out about Claire's father, she ended up kind of just doing some research on Claire, because the same thing happened to the patient that she had. I'm kind of like going all over the place, but just hang on. The patient that just, had recently told her that if anything happened, save the baby. Someone tampered with her IV and ended up putting morphine in her IV, And all of this was happening on Dr. Brooks', watch. So that was set up to make her look incompetent so that she can, that she would get in trouble and that she would have to go before the board and everything. And her license ended up being suspended behind this incident. And not to mention, just a couple of other things had taken place where It was just a lot of incompetent things happening on Dr. Brooks' watch, right? So all of this was set up by, of course, Claire, because Claire was out to get her and everything. So Luna ended up biting the bullet on that one because she was the only one that had access to the morphine and everything. So Dr. Brooks went nuts on her, and she ended up down to the police station and all of that to be questioned about a lot of different events and, leading up to that. So now, meanwhile, Dr. Brooks ended up researching Claire's father. Okay. Turned out that he was dead, because Claire had murdered him. And Claire ended up sharing that her father basically hated her. He beat her, he abused her, and all of that because he took out on her the fact that his wife had died, which was so bizarre, because you would think, if anything, that he would love her more because her mother was no longer there, so that he would want to take care of her and love her. But he was a total psychopath, So I felt kind of bad for her towards the ending, because, not to excuse her behavior or anything like that, but I just felt bad for her because she was psycho, because no one ever loved her. Her father treated her that way, and she never knew her mother or what have you. So she grew up with that venom and that hate in her. So she just wanted to take that out on Dr. Brooks, Anyhow, I loved it. I love the fact, like I said, that it was that type of plot to it. It kind of gave me like an old school movie vibe or what have you. I totally loved it. So, she kidnapped Noelle. She took her out, to a cabin, had her in the woods and all of that or what have you. Of course, her parents were frantic. Her father was frantic, all of that, because she was off with this nutcase. They ended up finding out who Claire was, and all of that or what have you. And it just it makes me laugh, because when the movie gets, hang on. Oh my God, on my TV is still on. I have it on mute, and Sleeping with the Enemy is on. One of my favorite movies. I got to do a movie review for that one as well. Totally love it. Anyhow, it's always so funny when these nutcakes, they love to go out there in the woods, And everybody knows, we all know that Jason be out there in the woods and all this type of stuff. It's like, you couldn't pay me. See, I would be the black friend. I would be the black girl, if I, with my Caucasian friends, and they would be like, oh, Rontrell, let's go out to the cabin for the weekend. And I would just be like, oh no, I humbly decline. I'm going to have to go ahead and decline that offer. And, no, maybe we can go to Disneyland or someplace really fun and magical, but not in the woods, not a cabin trip, none of that. I wouldn't mind going hiking and everything, but again, the woods, we can do something, we can exercise or what have you, but the hiking in the woods, going, the little cabin off in the woods, no. So hilarious. Anyhow, I'm gonna wrap it up, because like I said, I didn't want to share too much, but I would definitely recommend that you guys check this movie out. Revenge Delivered. Great movie. I enjoyed all of the actors and actresses. The villain Claire, she played that role to the T as a nutcake. I loved it. Dr. Brooks, absolutely stunning, gorgeous, melanation, her hair, all of that. Loved it, loved it, loved it. go check it out. So anyhow, I will definitely be back. Maybe with another movie review or just whatever type of video I feel like posting. So you guys stay tuned. Take care.